pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting lincolnteammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next big opportunity? Constructors is hiring. We're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. We offer competitive wages, great benefits, brand new service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for our shop and multiple field technicians. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at constructorslincoln.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Chancellor Brewington, powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, welcome into What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. I am Jackson Kleinschmidt, and to the left of me, your host, as always, Chancellor Brewington, former Nebraska tight end. How you doing today, Chancellor?
Good, man. Good, man. First Saturday show, 2 hours. Man, I'm excited. We did a whole week of 2-hour shows, and it's been great. We moved from 1 to 2 to 9 to 11 p.m. and it's great. Me and Harrison, have some really fun conversations, and I'm glad to chop it up and be here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. So, for the people listening that have kind of followed any of my shows, any of really the stuff I put out on social media or anything really, it's all I'm kind of on this lovely journey of just like acquiring knowledge and acquiring truth and whatever, however you really want to put it. But just kind of finding and asking deeper questions and asking the questions that provoke seeking, that seeking inwardly, but also externally to reveal what's inside. And so during this process, man, I had some opportunities to play football this past year at a professional level, and they just didn't pan out. And those type of things happen. I was feeling led to do something else, right? And so it led me to ticket, and it led me to some other things too. And during this process, I developed a love for learning. And maybe it was always there. Maybe I suppressed it and focused on something else, right? But there's always been like this curiosity within me to just know something. And I didn't really know what it was. And I realized it was just more about myself at the end of the day. And that's a interesting thing. And during this journey, I picked up reading. And oh my gosh, man, I love reading. Or maybe I say this, I don't know if I really love reading, but I think I maybe have convinced myself I love reading. I think I love what it brings and the reward. I've experienced like some beautiful conversations, been able to relate to a lot of people through reading, learn more about myself, learn not only because I learned that when you learn about yourself, when I'm learning about, my name is Chancellor Brewington. So when I learn about Chancellor Brewington, then I realize that's just a name. Then I learn who I really am, right? And the true essence of who I am. The true essence of who I am is the same true essence of who you are, of who everyone listening is. So the more I learn about myself, the more I'm learning about everyone around me. And so now I understand all creation is all connected, and and there's a different type of appreciation you have for an individual. And then you realize, oh, it's not about culture. It's not really about race. It's not really about where you're from, age. I mean, those things don't really matter. We're all the same. We're all one. There's a Jamaican culture. They call themselves the Rastafaris, right? So that's like Bob Marley. But their whole tradition is beautiful, and it stems from Ethiopia, but they have this saying called I and I. And so I and I means, I self is the same as I, you. So we're all one. So that's why you hear Bob Marley. I think it was his birthday the other day. God pay homage to him. But he always talks about one truth, one love, one mind. And I believe that stuff. I believe that there's one love and one truth and one mind, and that we can all coexist, and we can all, and it doesn't matter, what your beliefs are. And well, actually it does matter what your beliefs are at the end of the day, because we'll run into some problems there. But what I'm trying to say is I love learning. And I have a passion for it. And I think I became a really good student. And I think at some point, good students become good teachers. So I'm on this pursuit. And today, actually, we're gonna go through a couple chapters of one of my favorite books. And I got to give the backstory on how I heard of this book. And I read it and I thought it was a great book, right? Until I had a conversation with a certain individual, and he was like, hey, you should probably read that book again. I don't think you got everything you're supposed to get out of it, right? So the book is called Think and Grow Rich, and most people have heard of it, right? Napoleon Hill, fantastic. I mean, this is 1934, I believe. The backstory behind how the book was written is I would say is just as phenomenal as the book. It's ridiculous. So Napoleon Hill is this young reporter, right? He's this young reporter, newspaper journalist. And so he's doing, he does interviews, he does, the journal column on the newspaper. And the wealthiest man in the world at the time is Andrew Carnegie, right? And so that you could probably say like a Jeff Bezos, or like who's someone else, like what's the other dude? Elon Musk, right? Or one of those guys, or maybe someone even higher than him, right? A billionaire back in like the early 1900s, right? So Andrew Carnegie's kind of getting older in age, and he's on his way out, exiting, about to hit death and all that good stuff. And he says that the knowledge that I have and the knowledge my friends have, these very successful people, like, we can't go to the grave with it. It would be a disservice to humanity if we go to the grave with it. So Andrew Carnegie seeks out to find someone to write what he was thinking was the laws of success or the laws of achievement. So he's searching out, trying to find someone. He interviews 299 people. And on the 300th one, he gets a call from a newspaper journalist, or from the newspaper, saying a journalist wants to interview him. And, he says, oh, bring him in. So it's Napoleon Hill. So Napoleon Hill scores the interview with the biggest, wealthiest man in the world. That's like cream of the crop for, newspaper. And so that's like if we had, Elon on the show today, like, that's like, you're scoring big. That's huge, right? So he scores the interview, and at the same time he's interviewing him, Andrew Carnegie's interviewing Napoleon Hill to write it, right? Because he's trying to find someone to write this fantastic, to put this fantastic material and information inside a book. So the interview, is going great, and Andrew Carnegie gets a sense like, oh, this might be the guy, right? So at the end of the interview, Andrew Carnegie tells Napoleon Hill, this interview has just begun. Would you like to come to my house for 3 days? I think I have a project that you would be interested in. So Napoleon Hill goes to his house for 3 days. And so Andrew Carnegie lays out this whole terrific plan for three whole days on his vision for the first books were the 8 Laws of Achievement, but of these books that had interview 500 of the wealthiest people, give them connections through the roof. But then at the end of the 3 days, gave him all the necessary information. He said, now, Napoleon Hill, will you dedicate the rest of your life to write these books, right? And guess what? I won't subsidize you. I won't pay you for it. no compensation. So it's the richest man in the world saying, I won't pay you for this work, but I'll give you connections to 500 of the wealthiest people in the world. And so Napoleon Hill, so at this time he asked the question, Andrew Carnegie has a stopwatch underneath the table, right? And he says one of Andrew Carnegie's principles, which is inside the book, is people need to make decisions fast, right? And so you change your mind slowly, and you make your decisions fast, right? After you've been given all the necessary information. So Andrew Carnegie has the stopwatch underneath him. He asks the question, and in 29 seconds, Napoleon Hill says yes. Dedicates his whole life to writing this book, right? Think and Grow Rich. And so at the end of it, he goes like this. He says, now, Napoleon Hill, I know you might not believe this, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I want you to read this card out every day. And it's like, he gives the card out to Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill reads inside of his head and chuckles. Right, and the card says, Andrew Carnegie, I will not only equal your achievements in life, I'll meet you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. And so, this is ridiculous. This is like a young reporter, like, fresh into the reporting, journalist game, the richest, wealthiest man in the world, you could say the most accomplished man in the world, gives him a card and said that you're going to basically be better than me when it's all said and done. Right, you're going to do more than me. So if you look now, hindsight 2020, of course, you look back, and Andrew Carnegie, I think he's made 50 to like 100 millionaires within his day. But Napoleon Hill, I mean, through this book and through this information he's given, I mean, has inspired millions of people to become millionaires, and or I should say, many of thousands over time, and actually inspired literature to go in a certain way, and kind of the quote unquote like new thought era, where people are kind of finally understanding, mid to late 1800s and early 1900s, that thought means something, that thoughts and mental processes actually mean something, and that there's a deeper meaning behind manifestation, and getting a mental equivalent, and the quote unquote the old ways of working hard and changing matter with matter is kind of the old way of doing things, like getting to the root cause of cause and effect. And so it's a beautiful story. And the story continues that Napoleon Hill went home, and he was living with his brother at the time. He went home, and he had the note card that Andrew Carnegie gave him. And he went to the bathroom, he closed the door, he looked himself in the mirror, and he whispered it. He's like, Andrew Carnegie, I not only equal your achievements in life, because he didn't want his brother to hear it, right? Because, like, that's ridiculous. But he understood, and this is something Andrew Carnegie understood, was this term called autosuggestion. And it's a suggestion by self to self. And through the repetition of that, you actually form a belief. Because think about it, a belief is just a bulk of habitual thinking, right? And so he understood that. And in one of my favorite quotes, it's actually my home screen on my computer. It says this by Andrew Carnegie, any idea that is held in the mind that is either feared or revered will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate forms available. So it's like there's this thing, and there's so many ways to look at it. But that's how the Think and Grow Rich story came about. And I read the book. So I read the book. I read the book August last year. And it was cool, man. I started this journey of reading, and I was like, man, I want to read a book a week. And I never read a book in my life, for real. Like, I probably read a couple, right, for some school projects. Probably didn't even read them, to be honest. But so I'm like, man, how about a book a week? And so I get through the book a week, and I'm like, man, maybe I can do a couple books a week, right? And so now I'm like, I started in March 18th. Now I'm like almost at 100 books, right? And so that was a goal of mine that I set probably like 6 months in. Like, man, I'm on pace for 100. Let's hit 100. And so I'm reading through these books, and sometimes I read such good material and I don't realize how good it is. And so you have to go back. And I got reminded, I was sitting with a mentor of mine, and I said, what's the most influential book you've read on, like, that's influenced your life? And he said, Think and Grow Rich. I said, why? He said, it's a book you study. And I said, oh, dang, I must have missed that one. Like I didn't get all of that. Right. So, I went back and started reading it a little bit more, and I just didn't understand it. Like it just didn't really make that much sense to me. There's a bunch of gaps of information that I just didn't have. And then as my reading journey went on, it's interesting. I always went back to Think and Grow Rich and said, oh, that's what that meant. That's what that meant. Because you're reading based on your consciousness. Like you're not going to get the full magnitude of every material you read or every podcast you listen to. I guarantee if you're actively improving your life and your knowledge and your understanding, you go back and, listen to something you listened to a month ago, you're going to get something completely different. They say the first time you read the book, you get something from the book. The second time you read it, it reveals something within you. And so as I would go back to Think Grow Rich, I'm like, oh, there's something else there. And then I realized this book is not about money. It's not even really about money. It doesn't tell you to invest your money in the S&P 500 to save 10% and, invest, save 30%, and, spend the 70%, like it didn't even talk about money habits. What it really talked about was understanding yourself, understanding your belief system, understanding the things that you're putting out, understanding the frequency that you're in, understanding making sure that you know exactly where you want to go. And I think there's one thing that I misunderstood growing up was the concept of the how. How am I going to get there? And I think we stress out and we worry about that. I guess from my learning, and this is inside, you can piece this together in the book. This isn't directly from the book. I guess this is just from my learning is that thinking about the past won't get you anywhere. I think we all know that. That's kind of self-explanatory. But thinking about the future can kind of cause separation and lack. Because you think about it, you're driving down the freeway and you see a beautiful whatever Maserati or whatever, and so the first thought is, man, I would love to have that, or whatever. And that thought, you think about it, that's separation. You're not thinking that you have it, you're thinking that you want to have it. Anytime you think and want, that you're thinking in lack or separation. And so understanding that and understanding like, okay, how do I build the mental equivalent of this thing, right? So that's the key that this book talks about, is building the mental equivalent and understanding that it's the principle of be, do, have. It's like I think we've been taught, and I think, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't do that type of stuff, but I will say that we've been conned in a way. I think we've been conned. I think there's been the truth has kind of been distorted a little bit in saying that we are supposed to strive to have the thing, to be able to do the thing, and to become the person. And that's the wrong order. You're actually supposed to flip it. And it's kind of a paradox, and it probably doesn't make sense to most, but once you get the science behind it, once you get the understanding and the knowledge, then you understand. Then you kind of have some faith on what you're doing. But it's really the process is what I'm learning is actually the opposite. It's actually you become the thing, or you become the person. And then since you become the individual, you're actually able to do the thing. And then by doing the thing, you have the things, you acquire the X, Y, Z, whatever it is. But it's actually through this process of first building a mental picture of what you want. And I think that might be the hardest thing for people. So what I'm learning is that our limitations, or our Neville Goddard says it best. It's our weakness of attention and our poverty of imagination is what keeps man at his low level, right? And if we were able to imagine a thing and believe we can have it. Imagine every desire that came into your head, obviously good desires, right? Good desires that came into your head, right? The beautiful mental pictures of, I don't know, of the house or the car, of the helping people, of the business, of of the love relationship or whatever. Every mental picture you form, you actually believe you can have it. Now we're talking. Now we're talking because, well, why don't you believe you can have it? And this book talks about is limitation. Our only limitation is the one we put on it. I mean, if we say that that human beings, that term that we use to identify ourselves, are more powerful than we know, I think we can come to that conclusion. I mean, the point is, there's a study out there that says we 100% don't see at least 1% of reality. So it's 100%. The odds are 100% that we don't even see 1% of reality. So the fact that we can actually overcome that by, information, through understanding, and what those things do, raise our consciousness. And I think this is what this book is trying to get at. And we'll keep talking about this, and I believe on the next segment, we'll get into the introduction. But it's pretty awesome to consume this information. There's one of my favorite teachers on this book is Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale is an old. He's passed away. Rest in peace, of course. But he's like one of the first guys in personal development. He's from like 1940s, 1950s. But he did this whole breakdown on the biggest points of the each chapter of Think and Grow Rich. And he actually taught this individual named Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor preaches this. He said that for I believe it was up until the day he died, which was like, since he got a hold of this book, it was like 64 years or 60 years that he read this book every day straight. And that he said for the first 6 months, he went from earning, and this is obviously talking about money, but you can, this book is not only about money, but he said he went from earning 4,000 back in, 1954, whatever it was, 4,000. And he actually owed 6,000. So he was $2,000 in debt every year, to earning 175,000 just a year, just off of this book. And obviously, if you do the math on that, through inflation, you're getting probably close to $1 million, if not more than $1 million, that 175 rounded up. But he said just through consuming this information, understanding it, he said every time he read it, he got something new. And I'm definitely not here to say that, everyone, needs to be rich. I'm not saying that, but I do think this material is universal principles. I think it works from every facet of life. Not only money, but it's just specifically talk about money. But yeah, man, we're going to get into some cool things here coming up, and I'm excited.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and throw it to break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with What's Brewing here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next big opportunity? Constructors is hiring. We're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. We offer competitive wages, great benefits, brand new service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for our shop and multiple field technicians. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at constructorslincoln.com.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual Planner Clinic at the Adams County Fairgrounds in Hastings, February 19th and 20th. This hands-on event offers expert training on John Deere planners and performance upgrades, covering topics such as new technology, in-cab monitors, maintenance points, and options to increase your operations profits. New this year, classes on autonomy preparation and exact shot. Don't miss Landmark's Planner Clinic, February 19th and 20th in Hastings. Learn more at landmarkimp.com/events.
Load up on meat and more this winter at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This week's special through February 11th is $2 off burgers, limit of 2, 20% off sauces and spices, and 5 pounds of 75/25 ground beef for $20, limit of 2 while supplies last. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
M Suits Clothiers, Lincoln's favorite men's store. Family owned and operated, located 1 block south of 56th and Pine Lake Road. The end of season clearance is going on now with up to 50% off. Stop in now for best selection on sweaters, outerwear, suits, sport coat, dress pants, and dress shirts. M Suits Clothiers, your menswear store.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
In today's digital world, you can never be too cautious when it comes to your security. Cyber attacks are affecting more businesses every day. At Hamilton Business Technologies, we understand the stress and impact a cyber attack can have, not just on your bottom line, but on your ability to serve your customers and protect their trust. That's why we are passionate about safeguarding your business. From real-time threat monitoring to advanced security protocols, we help keep your data safe, allowing you to focus on what matters most. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Connect with us at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Outside is where winter adventure unfolds. On frozen lakes, icy landscapes, and snow-covered slopes, feeling the cold air rush by as you race downhill. The freedom of gliding with ease and the warmth of being together. From epic sled rides to the fun of ice fishing, it's all right here beneath Nebraska skies. Start your winter adventure at yournebraskaparks.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Associations and this station.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Is your office technology holding your business back? At Hamilton, we're more than just an IT provider. We're your partner, focused on building integrated technology solutions tailored to your business needs, both today and for the future. We know that every business is unique, and that's why we provide the services and support you need and nothing you don't. We believe that together, you can continue to serve and support your customers while knowing that your technology is taken care of. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Connect with us at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, we're back in on What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. Talking about Think and Grow Rich today.
Yes, sir.
I like to Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on. Think and Grow Rich, man. It's we just kind of explained the origins of the story, how it came to about, or how it came to be. The book. So it was originally the 8 Laws of Achievement, or the 8 Laws of Success. And then it got condensed into Think and Grow Rich. And it's I think it's a really powerful book, because I think there's something about testimony that's different. There's something about when someone says, I started off with nothing. And we're just talking about achievement or success for this one. Start off with nothing, and I became this whopping success, right? And so you see the starting ground is what inspires, right? It's like, okay, well, I didn't start off with nothing, right? I didn't start off, I watched an interview of this billionaire who the other day he was an immigrant from somewhere, and they were living in like Section 8 apartments, and he literally came from nothing. Right. He literally came from nothing. And so, and the one thing he was saying, he was like, if I can do it, you can do it. Right. Because I guarantee you didn't have it worse than me. And he's not trying to say he's better than anyone, but he is trying to say that the commonality is that anyone can do it, right? That's the whole thing, is that anyone can do it. Anyone can do the things or have the things or become the person. But there's a specific process. And I think this is what the book is explaining. It's just not by chance or luck. There's a quote in this book. Napoleon Hill says, he says, if you think hard work and honesty alone will bring you riches, he says, perish the thought. He said, riches, if they come at all, they come in response of definite principles, or the response of definite principles and a very certain demand. So you have to follow definite principles or follow universal laws or whatever you want to get into, but have an exact demand. And so if you go, and it's interesting. So now that I've read this book and I kind of go through like some of the stories that I've been told, like growing up, and a lot of them been sports. I used to love watching A Football Life, like those, the documentaries on there. Oh my gosh. Like those things were so inspiring, but you see these people start from nothing. Like Sean Taylor was one of my favorite ones. Like you talk about guys who came from nothing, like didn't even have cleats, didn't even have shoes, wore the same clothes every day. But what they have, they knew where they wanted to go. They knew what they wanted to go. And I think I think sometimes if you ask those individuals how they got there, they might resort to saying like, oh, I worked really hard and, I did this, but they all follow the same principles. Now, I'm not saying I'm definitely not saying, and I pride myself on my work ethic, but I'm definitely not saying that, you can just be a slob. But I guess what I am saying is that there's a consistency or a common denominator in every story. I mean, everybody says, I believed in myself. One, I mean, there's a School of Hard Knocks. There's a dude who goes around and interviews millionaires, billionaires in every big city. Every time you watch what the successful person says in the interview, they'll say, I believed in myself. I got, I had a burning obsession, and I knew exactly where I wanted to go. Right. But they say they didn't know how to. And I think that's the kicker. And so I go back to the testimony of the individuals in this, because there's 500 individuals that Napoleon interviewed. Like, I mean, talking from J.P. Morgan to Thomas Edison to Henry Ford to Alexander Graham Bell to Charles Schwab, like literally all these fantastic, I wouldn't say fantastic, but I would say excellent, accomplished, successful individuals that we would say as human beings are successful, of course. But to see their stories and see how they came and see, oh, Henry Ford wasn't the smartest guy, right? Like, oh, he just was obsessed with this idea that he had in his head. Like, oh, Charles Schwab wasn't, the Charles Schwab that I use for my investing and stuff, like that app, like, oh, that app, that person came from this, and this is how he came to it. And he was, Andrew Carnegie's right-hand man. And he was the first one to, I think he persuaded Andrew Carnegie to package all his steel companies and sell it to the stock market, right? To go, yeah. And so like, and made Andrew Carnegie the wealthiest man, and that was through Charles Schwab. So like, oh wow, it's like these there, but you see the stories, and all of a sudden you see that the person built that mental equivalent. And what I mean mental equivalent, meaning they believed that they were worthy enough to receive it. Because I mean, if you, I'm not trying to get too woo woo on you, but there's a saying that the universe doesn't give you what you want; it gives you what you're worthy of receiving, or what you feel worthy of, and you can replace the universe with whatever you want. That's just a very neutral term that doesn't rub people the wrong way, of course. But it's beautiful. So the introduction to this book might be one of my favorite chapters. It starts off, I mean, the first sentence probably strikes some people up. It says, truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that. When they are mixed with definite of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their translation into riches or material objects, they come to pass. Right? So it's like starts off with the idea that thoughts are things. So what does that even mean? So what is a thought? Right? Yeah. I look at a sentence, I'm like, okay, so what is a thought? Well, I think we have to understand that we have, I believe it's around 60,000 thoughts a day. And so which one of those which one of those are the ones that we are controlling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question. I think it's like, okay, so we have all these thoughts, they're constantly coming in. Are we, first of all, are we conscious of these thoughts? I think that's the kicker here, is understanding, okay, how often do I, every thought that comes by, Jim Rohn says it best, stand guard at the gate of your mind, right? So you don't let any thought get in there unless it goes through your consciousness or your awareness, and say, okay, I let that thought through. Why? Because it's, I permit it. It's a good, it's a righteous thought. It's a pure thought. It's a holy thought. It's a thought of prosperity. It's a thought of abundance. It's a thought of love. So think about this. Now, this, and I have to preface this to give you foundation for what he's kind of talking about, is he, in the new thought era, they kind of had this idea of conscious and subconscious mind, and we kind of accept that idea. Early on, we didn't accept the idea of a subconscious mind. We kind of agreed that there's some type of conscious mind. I mean, obviously you consciously move something, right, in your body, right? So there's everyone accepted that, but not a lot of people back in the day accepted the idea of a subconscious mind. And so there's many theories to this day about what the subconscious is. It's such a mystery. I think, from what I've learned, and the best way I can put it, there's a doctor, Thurman Fleet, and he said the subconscious, people thought the brain was the subconscious mind. And so he said, actually, I mean, nobody's ever seen mind. When you flash a mental picture, and you close your eyes, you go to a mental picture. Well, is that in your mind or is that in your brain, right? And so there's like these two different philosophies, but there's actually a doctor named Joe Dispenza. He's kind of combined science and this philosophy and done some great things with it. But the idea that your conscious mind can formulate an image, right, and your subconscious mind is amendable to suggestion, meaning it has no ability to accept or reject an idea. So whatever your conscious mind feeds your subconscious mind, it plants into the garden of the cosmos, of the universe, whatever you want to get. We can go on a rabbit hole there, of course, of what the subconscious mind really is. But at the end of the day, whatever you plan, the subconscious has to come to pass. I mean, every great teacher throughout history has taught this thing, that thoughts are things. Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, every great teacher, Gandhi, everyone has taught that. As a man thinketh, so is he. Solomon. I mean, all these people have taught this, that you have to be careful of what you think about, because those things, as you sow, so shall you reap. Like there's this law of karma. Like there's this idea that an individual can literally become the master of his fate, and the captain of his soul, and the master of his fate, or the master of his destiny. Why? Because he has the ability to think, to the ability to formulate a thought, to formulate an image. So the book kicks off with the story of Edwin Barnes, I believe. And so it's his pursuit to work with Thomas Edison, not for him. So he just got this burning obsession. Well, I guess we can actually dive into that and think a little bit more about it. But he had this idea, let's call it an idea to work with Thomas Edison, And Thomas Edison is Thomas Edison. Like the way we think about Thomas Edison, imagine the stardom that he had back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't even know who to, equate him to today, but he's up there.
I mean, I'd say like an Elon just because he's so like innovative.
Yeah, that would be a great one. So like, imagine, someone saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna work with Elon, not for him."
Oh yeah,
that's a different conversation. Working for someone and working with someone. And so he sets out for this journey, and Barnes got an interview with Edison. And so in this interview with Thomas Edison, Edison sent something from Barnes, and he said it's the quality that all great men have, that the ones that achieve and succeed something, is this passion. He said it was this passion. He said the passion and expression Edison saw in Barnes was undeniable. He says undeniable. He says, and this is a direct quote from Edison, he said, when a man truly desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it. He is sure to win. In other words, there has to be, the individual has to risk something great. And we'll get to a story of burning the boats. I mean, a lot of people have talked about it. I mean, we used to talk about it in football all the time, but there needs to be a place of no retreat where I set off and do it. It's the Jim Rohn. I love Jim Rohn. I mean, Jim Rohn is my guy. I mean, I have a bunch of people I just love to listen to. But he talks about resolve, which is basically like he his definition, and it's a little morbid, but his definition of resolve is I'll do it or die. And so he gives this example of an individual going up a mountain, right? He's going up a mountain, and he tells his people, he says, you're gonna see me at the top waving the white flag. I guess the white flag kind of symbolizes retreat or surrender, but waving the flag, right? Saying, I accomplished it and I got to it. Or you'll see me lying on the side dead. Like, so it's super dramatic, but it's not the literal interpretation that he's trying to get at. It's the symbolization of this is where I'm going and I won't stop till I get there. That's what resolve is. And so, I think Edison probably saw that in Barnes. And so Barnes, had this interview, but he still had, a ton of a long journey ahead of him. So he went and, started at the bottom of Edison's company. So Napoleon Hill says, when the opportunity came, it appeared in a different form, and from a different direction than Barnes had expected. That is one of the tricks of opportunity. It has a sly habit of slipping in by the back door, and often it comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. Perhaps this is why so many fail to recognize opportunity. It's amazing. So if we'll keep talking about Barnes' journey, but there's a consistency in all these stories. Every single one of them is that there's a point where external or circumstance or conditions, external conditions, the perception we see with our eyes, didn't look promising. Like, it didn't look like it was going to go. He worked for 5 years for Edison before he even got a chance to go any higher. So literally nothing changed. Imagine 5 years of your life, but here comes the question that we can talk about is like, okay, so it started off as an idea. So how did the idea become a burning obsession or a burning desire? And so it's like, okay, so did Barnes start off with this burning desire? He just woke up one day and said, I'm going to work with Thomas Edison, and just set off for it. Or was there a process in which he got emotionally involved with it? Right. And I think the thing about the subconscious, and it talks about, is that there's a few ways to influence subconscious mind. One of them is through repetition, and the other is through emotion, right? So emotional impact. And obviously there's another process, and that's another conversation, but talking about the subconscious and how you get emotionally invested with an idea, I think that's how you get a burning desire through it. And so my question, and the story doesn't really tell it, but okay, was Barnes like consistently thinking about this every day? Was this something that would never leave his mind, right? Like, okay, man, I'm gonna work with Edison, like just working himself to the belief of it. Or did he start off with the belief that this is done and it happened, right? Because I think what we talked about earlier, there's always limitations in individuals, right? So how do we limitations in belief and ideas on what we can really achieve? So did Barnes start off and say, man, I think I can do this? And then that think came into, well, maybe I can. And then as the emotional involvement came, repetition a little bit more, did he say, oh man, I can do this. I can do this, and I will do this, and I'm going to do this. Now I would love to understand that, because that's a super interesting point. But at the beginning of journey working for Mr. Edison, there's absolutely no progress, like we talked about. There was still a burning desire in Barnes that never wavered. So, okay, so it had to have been either the moment he interviewed with Edison, he built up, I should say, the belief, the burning obsession. He built it up, or it was something that he gained throughout the years, right? But then in the story, it says that Edison noticed it the first time he saw him. So you can kind of conclude that he had this from the beginning, right? And so I the way I see this is that he never let the external conditions control his internal beliefs, right? So, okay, I'm not moving up in the company. I'm not doing this, but in my inner world or in my inner belief system, I believe I'm already he said, actually, we'll get to the quote, but he actually believed he was already working with him in his mind. He got so emotionally invested with it and consistently repeated it that he was already in his mind working with Thomas Edison. So it's the repetition, emotional involvement. And lastly, before we go to break, his inner world was realer than his outer world. And he was actually calling the reality he wanted to him by getting emotionally invested with it internally and not letting the reality in this third dimension get in the way. And it's pretty beautiful. And I can't wait to get to the peak of the story and also to the end of the introduction. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to throw it to break. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting into the thick of it on What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Midwest Bank is proud to be your local community bank right here in Lincoln. This is Travis with Midwest Bank, now with 2 branches conveniently serving Lincoln and 8 other locations across Nebraska. We're here to help you with any of your needs. From opening a checking account to buying a home or financing your business, our staff is here for you. Stop in and you might see Shin Daddy himself. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Learn more at midwest.bank, member FDIC.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just a professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier furry friends.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
A new year means it's time to try new things. If you haven't tried Fierce Cheese Spread yet, the time is now. For the days you don't want to go to the gym, don't worry. Fierce Cheese Spread is there to cheer you up. And for the days you do get to the gym, why not celebrate when you get back with the best dip around? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Fierce Cheese Spread. No event or party is complete without it on your table.
If you don't have Valentine's Day plans this year, strike up some romance at Madson's Bowling and Billiards. Head to Madson's on Friday, February 14th for the first ever Love on the Lanes, a live stage front dating show like Lincoln's never seen. The show is free, live on the bowling lanes with audience participation, hilarious Q&As, and unexpected twists. The show is free, but reserve VIP seating by emailing Sarah at madsonslincoln.com. Come for the love, stay for the laughs, and leave with memories or a match on Valentine's Day at Madson's.
Attention all wing fans! Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays, enjoy 89-cent boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.29 chicken tenders all day long. Get to Wings and Rings today at 68th and O or in Williamsburg Village.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now, through February 9th, get a 10-pound tube of 85% ground beef for just $1.98 when you buy more than $100 in meat and groceries. Fresh cut chicken wings for $3.99 per pound. Busch Light 30 packs for $16.99 if you spend $6.01 in meat. And carbless cocktails 4 packs for $7.99 each when you buy 2. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
A new year means it's time to try new things. If you haven't tried Fierce Cheese Spread yet, the time is now. For the days you don't want to go to the gym, don't worry. Fierce Cheese Spread is there to cheer you up. And for the days you do get to the gym, why not celebrate when you get back with the best dip around? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Fierce Cheese Spread. No event or party is complete without it on your table.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions. Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, welcome back into What's Brewing. Chancellor Brewington, guys, Clashman over here. Just getting into the thick of it, talking about Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Think and Grow Rich. It's a great book. We just got through the first, I would say, part of the first story, or actually towards the end of the first story in the introduction. And it's talking about this man named, I believe his name is Edwin Barnes. Edwin Barnes' story on how he got to working with Thomas Edison, not for him. And I posed the question, and so first of all, it's interesting that why does Napoleon Hill choose this story to start the out of all the stories? I mean, he's interviewed Henry Ford, he's interviewed, Andrew Carnegie himself. I mean, if you read Master Key to Riches, the 8th chapter, it's called the Mastermind Principle. It's like all of Andrew Carnegie's quotes, and I mean, you talk about like wisdom and gems, like he has them all, right? And so, but it's like you have all these stories and you choose to put this one as the first story you write about in, your 20, he took 20, I believe it was like 28 years to write this book. Oh, like, you understand? Like, so like you choose this one. So there has this
got to be a level of importance to this one, the first one. That's
exactly
what grabs you. It's the grabber in every book.
And so it's like, okay, what was inside the mind of Napoleon Hill? What was he trying to get the reader to understand? And I think that from the way I see it, I think he was trying to get the reader to understand, first of all, the title Think and Grow Rich probably implies a lackadaisicalness or a idleness or a laziness that you don't really have to go and do something. I think it kind of provides in the story, nothing changed for him for 5 years. He worked from the bottom of the company. But I think it hits kind of all angles. First of all, it hits, okay, thoughts become things. He thought about, working with them. Okay, then it hits the emotional involvement. And we don't know really when that hit for Barnes. But we do know at some point it hit for him. And then a burning obsession. It was noticed by Thomas Edison. Like, so you can imagine an individual that, has a passion for something. And then an individual that has a passion for something, but somebody else can see it. Now we're talking. And so then it describes that. And then it describes that nothing changed for him. We talked about that. And that he still, it sounds like in the story that he actually throughout his journey got more emotionally involved with it and actually believed it more and more, even though nothing changed. So it's like this, okay, I talked about it, external circumstances, or the internal world or the internal belief or the internal mental pictures, mental images that he was building was actually more important to him than what was going on in his outer world. So that lays the foundation for kind of what's to come in the book. And that's what I said. I said there's a principle in this book, and it starts off is that there's an intangible impulse of thought can be transmuted into a physical counterpart. And that can be, and I think the title of Think and Grow Rich, you could really think and grow anything. Like it's like you can, the word rich is like there, I mean, Napoleon,
broad.
yeah, it's broad. Like it's rich, first thing we think of is money. Like, well, riches, I mean, it's their spiritual riches, emotional riches, mental riches. I mean,
just rich in life.
They're rich, yeah. I mean, rich in wisdom, rich in
yeah.
knowledge. There's Think and Grow rich in every aspect. And so, the way I like to see it is that like this book describes, or that process describes, a thought, which I would say thought is energy. You know, that's gets a little bit more. Thought is frequency. Thought is spirit. I mean, and I don't mean spirit in a religious term, but and in translating that or transmuting, which just means to transfer or to change into another form, into matter, changing a thought into matter, like how to do that. And I think this book does a great job of describing the laws or the universal principles of success. And so I talked about this a little bit. It's like every book I've read so far, and my book count right now is probably about like, I really stopped counting. I know I'm like above 90 right now.
Oh, wow.
For the year.
When did you start?
March 18th. So
24?
Yeah. So I'm almost.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So I'm 10 away, but it's like, it's cool. It's cool. Like the 100 doesn't really mean anything to me now. It's really just about understanding the material. At first I thought it was like, man, I need to hit this 100.
Get
like,
there.
you know,
Yeah.
you know, like then I can tell people, you know, I read 100, you know, and then I realized like, okay, the more I'm learning, first of all, the more I'm learning, I don't really know about anything. Like there's so much I don't know about. And it never occurred to me. I tell you this, it never occurred to me growing up that you could read a book and become a better person. Never.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me that there's books out there that help you in every facet of life.
Yeah.
It didn't occur that there's a book out there that can help you build a consciousness. Was not a thing that I was aware of, and that's what awareness. What is, you know, consciousness is awareness, and that there's books out there that help you raise your level of consciousness. What, like, that's the furthest thing from it. I think, you know, when we talked about like this book is not about how to invest your money. It's not about how, I mean, did we read anything about money right there?
No.
There's nothing about the Barnes and Edison story. Had nothing to do with money. Had everything to do with thoughts, self-identity, belief system, serving and giving. And then I think later down the line, you kind of realize, you know, Napoleon Hill talks about it, is like your relationship with money. You know, like understanding that and understanding, okay, how do you see money? You feel like you're deserving of money. And okay, then understand, okay, deserving of money. Okay, what is money? Is money the paper that we hold in our pocket, or is there energy behind money? And so understanding the relationship there. But really, I think the bulk of this, and we'll get into the next story in the introduction, is before you can do something, you first must be something. And so if you look at the Edison, the Barnes story, he became in his mind a partner with Edison before he was able to actually, in the 3D world, the three-dimensional world, become a partner with Edison. Like, so like it's this idea that you can actually there. Okay. So, how much time we got? A couple more minutes?
Oh yeah, you're good. Yeah, you got to.
Okay. So, there's a book, and sorry, this is the way my mind works. I got to go to another book. There's another book called Psycho-Cybernetics, by Dr. Maxwell Marks. We might have to do one of these weekends. But he was a surgeon. He did facial reconstruction surgeries, nose jobs, implants, all that good stuff. And this is like, back mid 1900, this is in the 60s or 70s. So he realized that he was working on patients, right? And all of a sudden, some patients would just flourish in life and some wouldn't after the surgery. And he started studying it a little bit more, and he realized that every individual has a self-image and a self-identity, and that actually controls us. And so he talks about a cybernetic system, and that's literally just it's in machinery and it's in animals, and it basically detects deviation from a set goal, and it puts us back on track to a certain goal. And so think about like a autopilot within a plane. I'm not a pilot and I'm not too well versed in it, but I do know that a captain or a pilot can put the plane on autopilot, put on a set destination, go to the bathroom, and that plane's going to still fly at the right. But the moment it deviates from the course, guess what it's going to do? It's going to put the plane right back on course, right? Because it didn't change the destination. It didn't change the image, the identity, right? And so you think about it like with the thermostat, that's a cybernetic system. You first of all, you have a thermostat, you set the room, let's set this room to let's go 70, right? 70 heat. That's why I keep my apartment on sometimes, right? 70 heat. And then I open the cold door, right? And so it brings in a bunch of cold door. The thermostat system signals to the air conditioning system to pump in warm air to counterbalance that, right? Because it's deviated from its set goal of 70 degrees, right? And then it pumps it back in, and all of a sudden, we get back to 70, right? Because that's the set goal. So the same thing happens with the individual. They have let's just use someone who wants to lose weight, whatever it is. And so they never change their self-identity. And so they can go good for a couple days, a couple weeks, maybe a month or whatever, but they'll eventually deviate back to their self-identity or their self-image because it hasn't changed. And I think in this story with Barnes, he literally convinced himself that he was a different individual than the one that everyone else was experiencing. So you could imagine what this is the depth I see in stories, is like, what was his friends thinking? What was Barnes's family thinking? He probably thought he was crazy. Imagine I come to the ticket one day and say, yeah, I'm planning to work with Elon Musk. That's what I'm doing. And yeah, imagine the ridicule I'm getting. I mean, the text line is gonna be like, dude hey, let's reel it back in.
Let's get back into today's schedule.
Yeah. I think Nebraska got a new transfer today. Let's talk about that. Or I think the Luka trade. Like, let's talk about that. Let's not talk about Or I go tell my family. Eric, I'm like, okay, maybe we should check Chance into a psych ward or something, right? Because this isn't working. But you can only imagine the feedback or the negative feedback he was getting. And for him to push past that into eventually, there was a slogan, I forget what it's called. It was like made by Edison, sold by Barnes.
Oh, yeah.
I might have butchered that, but I think it might have been that actually. But there was and to see how that started, I mean, that's testimony, that's inspiration. And I think there's a power in that. I think there's a power in someone. What we got? It
was made by Edison, installed by Barnes was their slogan.
Yeah, and so I would say that's not for. I mean, I don't think that implies that Barnes was working for Edison. That sounds like a partnership right there in that slogan. That's exactly what Barnes set out for, and he got exactly what he wanted, right? And I think the one quote I love is, the opportunity came and it disguised itself in a different form than he expected. And I think sometimes we build the picture and we're like, yeah, we're going to go here. We're going to do this. We're going to have this. We're going to become this person. And then all of a sudden, you lose your job the next day. You're like, wait, what I set out to do this. Why is this happening? Well, a lot of things have to change for you to become that. Yeah. I mean, this is a direct alignment. And there's one of my favorite authors, Thomas Troward. He brings up, he's like kind of the guru or the, I would say the pioneer in kind of like mental science and studying the mind. He talks about this thing of the end result already being completed. And so he talks about how if you get emotionally invested and you go through the correct process, he calls it the creative process in the individual. If you go through that creative process the correct way and you get emotionally invested with it, the means on how it's going to happen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's like and we'll get into that. That's a whole nother thing. But 3 feet from goal, that's the next story.
Yeah.
So there's a man named R.U. Darby. He bought a mining machine. He actually went to all his family back home, right? Imagine, like, I'm from Chandler, Arizona, or I'm from North Carolina too, but I go back to Chandler and I say, guys, there's some, it's the height of the gold rush, right? Like, guys, look, I know a spot where, there's a pot of gold. We just got to dig in there. We got to get this machine. It's worth, 50 grams. If we all put our money together, we can get this machine, or probably 100 grand. 100 grand, get this machine. We'll be rich for the rest of our lives, right? So the whole town community chips into this, right? So imagine, like, R.U. Darby, and I believe is like some family member. They get the machine. They go out. This might have been in like NorCal or whatever it was. Bought the machine. They go to a spot where supposedly they believe there was a vein, a pot of gold, right? And he ended up quitting. He ended up selling the machine for, a few $100s. And he sells the machine to a junk man, what he describes as a junk man. And the junk man ends up taking the machine, starts drilling in the same spot of where he ended. He drilled in the same spot, and he ends up striking gold 3 feet under where the man stopped. And so it's this idea of like, he quit 3 feet. 3 feet is what, this much? It's like that much. Like, he quit that far away from gold, and it's not a little bit of gold. They the way it's described in the book is like, it's enough gold to, like, you set your 3 next generations up. So it's not like you get a brick of gold worth 20,000. Like, it's like, it was multi millions. And so it said that Darby took this lesson and one more lesson. The other lesson was a lesson of he was working at a mill company, a mill factory. I'm not familiar with industrial stuff, but
I got you.
So he was working there, and there's this little girl who came in, and obviously you can learn so much from children. This little girl came in and asked Darby's uncle to buy a certain item. I think it was like a box of chocolates or whatever for 50 cents. And the uncle's like, no, we're working here. And the little girl stood there persistent and didn't waver, said no. Asked her again, asked the uncle again, like, will you buy this, whatever? And, held the box of chocolate out, wouldn't take no for an answer. Uncle said no again, persisted again. And finally the uncle caved and said, fine, I'll buy it. Gave the girl 50 cents, and the girl walked away happy, cheerful and joyous. But, we'll get into the principle in the next break of what this really means. But there's a lot of lessons from this story, the 3 feet from gold.
All right. Well, we're going to throw it to break. Don't go anywhere. We still got another hour here on What's Brewing, Chancellor Brewington, here on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Cupid, the messenger of love. That guy is totally undependable. This Valentine's Day, choose Petal Creations as your personal messenger of love. From designs that say, hey, I kind of like you, to you rock my world, we know how to create the perfect floral design sure to tell your Valentine how you really feel. We have so many design choices it will make your head spin. More importantly, they will make her head spin. PetalCreations.com or 423-6500. Stop in and see us at 56th and Highway 2 in the Edgewood Shopping Center.
You hungry? You know you are. We got chicken fingers, crunchy, fries are golden crispy, baby. Yo, don't forget about the cane sauce, baby. Ooh, right, here's the spot. Hello.
Hello.
Angela, we have to break up.
But why?
Because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Aloe Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit aloefiber.com to switch today.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, We're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's only $5.99. Get a one-meat sandwich loaded with our award-winning barbecue, plus your choice of a classic side and drink for just $5.99. Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner in Lincoln at 3210 Cornhusker Highway. Order online at GoHogWild.com.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
Gentlemen, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Don't be that guy running to the store for flowers and a card on your way home. Hey, Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. We have great Valentine's gifts in store now. And if you spend $99, we'll throw in a free bouquet of a dozen roses. Give her what she really wants this year and let us do the rest. Sartor Heyman Jewelers, your hometown jeweler since 1905 in Lincoln and Grand Island. Online at sartorheyman.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Chancellor Brewington, powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, we're back in on What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington here on 93.7 The Ticket. Before we get into this next segment, just wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Insomnia Cookies. Over on 1601 Q Street, just brought us in some nice warm cookies here on this break. They were very, very good. Isn't that right, Chancellor?
Yeah, they were fantastic.
They were great.
I had a red velvet and or is that how you say it? Red velvet?
Yeah, red velvet. That's the one that I had.
Red velvet and oatmeal. Oatmeal, my favorite, and they killed it, crushed it. Warm cookies, I mean, y'all gotta go try
You
that.
can't beat warm cookies.
Yeah.
I run to Insomnia Cookies if you're a cookie guy.
Yeah, no, that's fire. That's fire, and we appreciate it always. So we're just talking about this story, 3 feet from gold. So his man Darby, he has this, he rallies up this money to go and strike gold in the height of the gold rush, ends up quitting, sells the machine to a junk man, quote unquote junk man. I mean, really a rich man, sells the machine. Junk man goes and drills right where he ended. Right where he stopped, same spot, drills just 3 feet under, strikes gold enough to, take care of his family's family. And so then the next lesson was this little girl. It's interesting. I mean, out of all the stories that resonated with him in his life journey, it was a story of a little girl who would not take no for an answer. Like the persistence in a child, where the child doesn't have, this stigma behind certain things or this limited belief system. The child knows what it wants and, is determined to get it. It's like, and the child asks for ice cream 100 times, right? Eventually the dad says, all right, we'll go get ice cream, right? Like, but it's like this persistence. And so I think, the Bible talks about it. Everyone talks about, there's something about a child. There's something about a child that we can learn from, and was the New Testament say, it says that, in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, you have to become like a little child. Like, so what does that mean? Well, a child doesn't really understand limitations. a child, I mean, talk about a toddler. I have a nephew who's, 8 months. He will try to walk every chance he gets. He doesn't understand failure. I mean, it's not like the mom, my sister. It's not like my sister is telling my nephew, hey, you got 300 tries to try to walk. Right? Like, then you're done. Then you're cut off. Like, no, it's the until formula for children. It's until I talk, and formulate the word, right? It's until I walk. It's until I crawl. It's until I, can eat correctly. It's until I'm potty trained. It's until I'm all these things. Like, so I think becoming like a child in a sense, I mean, I think you can learn a lot from children. I think children are, I would say pure in a way. And there's maybe a bunch of what we're really supposed to be and like really supposed to embody in this life we can learn a lot from children. Just the joy, in this instance, he's talking about persistence, but I think of the joy and the imagination. And me and Bach used to talk about this a lot. Of just how important it is to groom a child in a way and not put your limitations on them. Like you think about I used to watch a Football Life, like I said, and the first hour, and all of the Football Lives I watched, every single one of them, it was all about somebody along their journey. You had an antagonist, you had someone who said, the teacher or the guardian or the caretaker said you'll never make it. Right? But then you always had someone who said you will make it. And it's like that fine line. I think in life you kind of need both. Like the hero, think about all the hero stories that we have, and I think we see life in stories, and I think that's why we relate to movies and books and all these things so much. The story always has someone who says, I don't think you're gonna become that. And then the story also always has the individual who's like, the person who believes in you. It's like I'm trying to think of a story, Good Will Hunting. I saw that for the first time last week.
Man, that's a good one.
Good one. And so in the story, I mean, think about how that character is a pattern. What's the Matt Damon? What does he play?
I forget his name.
Whatever his name is.
It's been so long.
Yeah, whatever his name is in the story. I mean, that's a continuous pattern. Now, being a psycho genius and understanding every mathematical principle there ever was, and being able to formulate new theories. Now that might be an outlier and an anomaly, but the concept of individual coming from a rough environment, having self-limited beliefs, and all of a sudden, he has people in his environment kind of pulling him back, but also having people say he won't be anything, right? And then you have a couple people who believe in him and are the determining factors in his success. One, don't really know how pure the ambition was for him believing him, was the professor who pushed him in the right direction to get, the therapy from Robin Williams. And Robin Williams was really the driving character in that, telling him he could do it. And so I think everyone needs first of all, you also need the people to tell you you're not going to be anything, or do you? I don't know, but it's consistent in most stories. And so Beck, what we see, this is how we go. We
go around.
We go around, and then we bring it right back to Think Grow Rich introduction. We're almost done with the introduction. And so Darby took this lesson from quitting before success, from the 3 Feet from Gold, and from the little girl story of persistence. And he brought it into everything he did. And he ended up being, one of the most accomplished and successful life insurance salesmen of his time. Selling million. I mean, at this point in, early 1900s, selling millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of insurance every year. And so you see this progression. Okay. It's like it's the hero story. It's the hero. I mean, both stories, Barnes, the hero story, this idea that I'm the hero of my story and I'm going to do it. And it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. Okay. Then now the 3 feet from gold is real different now. Now it's about a story of this guy named Darby, R.U. Darby, who had the opportunity in front of him and he failed. Okay. So how did he take the failure? Okay. Did he learn from it? Did he say, okay, that was my only opportunity in life. It's over with. Right. You know, I said, I think I relate to this a lot. Going through the football journey, having the goal of doing this, and this, and all of a sudden it doesn't work out. Am I a failure? Well, no, 1000% no. Could I look at myself as a failure and believe I'm a failure? Yes. That's the free will. That's the choice. So, okay, how can we apply this to our life? Well, our past doesn't define us. That's just a story that we continually tell ourselves. And if we continually tell ourselves that past story, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna believe it. And then all of a sudden, what if the moment we say, yeah, it happened, but I'm more invested in my future. I'm more invested in what's to come than my past. So now you become a creator of your life instead of a victim of your life. Thinking in the past is thinking as a victim. Thinking in the future, now you're a creator, right? Because like think about it, like we're energy beings, right? I mean, we are full of energy. I mean, we have a 7. So imagine the number 7 with 27 zeros behind it. That's how many that's how many atoms we have inside our body.
That's so crazy.
And not only that, those atoms are made up of subatomic particles. So I couldn't even tell you what number that is.
No.
The number for the atoms is 7 billion, whatever that means, right? And so to say that in 99.999% of those atoms are what? All energy and all have information. All energy has information. And so when you say when you set out to do something, you are literally putting all your body's energy into something. And so, but then the contrary is true too. If you're emotionally invested in the past and you're focused on the past, where's all your energy going? To a past circumstance. And I mean, every 5 years we literally every 5 years, all of our old cells die and we have all new cells. So think about this. All the cells have information. all the cells have information. So you literally imprinted into your cells that you're still living in this past environment, signaling new genes, signaling new proteins, and down regulating actually genes and down regulating I mean the function of, or I mean you can get into a whole rabbit hole with that.
Yeah.
But I mean so now if I get emotionally invested with my future and say this is where I'm going, I don't really know how I'm going to do it, but I have a mental picture and this is where I'm going. Well, we kind of see this with these two stories, and I think that's why Napoleon Hill put him there. He also says this: before success comes in any man's life, he is sure to meet with much temporary defeat and perhaps some failure. When defeat overtakes a man, the easiest and most logical thing to do is quit. And I think that's the thing we run into. And he also says the greatest success came just one step beyond the point at which defeat had overtaken them, referring to R.U. Darby and Edwin Barnes. He also says failure is a trickster with a keen sense of irony and cunning. It takes great delight in tripping one when success is almost within reach. It's like there's this, it's consistent. It's like, okay, so the sun, the light, that illuminates this world, right? It comes up after what? The darkness. It comes up after, I mean, it's darkest before dawn. I mean, it's a consistent pattern, and any pattern that we see in nature we are in nature. So the pattern has to be consistent in our lives too. So there's always going to be, I mean, you study these things. I mean, you look at a lot of NFL stories. I mean, I'm obsessed. I used to be obsessed with those stories, but it almost seemed like there was an injury, or almost seemed like there was a death. And I don't mean this to be morbid. I'm just examining the stories. It seemed like there was a death. There seemed like there was an injury. It seemed like there was maybe a financial thing, a girlfriend, had a kid, out of wedlock, whatever it was. That all of a sudden it felt like it felt like it wasn't going to happen, but the individual pushed through and it ended up happening. And I think that's why he chose these stories, is that these aren't pretty stories.
Yeah.
These aren't these stories where you just, oh, this is a cute fairy tale, right? And we'll get into the rest of the introduction and get into chapter 2, but principle or step 1 towards riches, which is desire. It's pretty awesome.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and throw it to break. What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 937 The Ticket. We will be right back.
Of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Juwan Gary from the Nebraska men's basketball team. As you know, Valentine's Day is coming up, and the shot clock is ticking. If you want to win some serious points this year with your girl, Script Men's Ball is where it's at. They got everything your girl needs. Facial, laser treatments, gift card, stuff that make her feel like a queen. I've been a Script Men's Ball myself, and trust me, their treatments hit way different. Even as a hooper, I know how to take care of myself for sure. Stop by Script Men's Ball in Lincoln and check them out online. Confidence is where it starts at. You'll thank me later.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
February is American Heart Month, and with heart disease as the #1 leading cause of death in Nebraska, now is the best time to start thinking about your health. Maintaining a healthy blood pressure is one of the best ways to avoid heart disease, and the blood pressure screening is fast, easy, and can be free. The best way to get screened is at your yearly wellness visit with your doctor. For more information and ways to get a blood pressure screening, search Chronic Disease Nebraska. Paid for by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Hey farmers! Boyd Farm Outfitters is hosting a product expo at their facility near Exeter on Tuesday, February 11th. They'll introduce the newest products from Precision Planting and demo the Quick Draw Spray Tender System. They'll give you an up-close look at the Green Eye Select Spraying System, reveal the future of soybean traits, and much more. Stay up to date with the newest technologies in agriculture and learn how your farm can save time and money to become more efficient. Visit BoydFarmOutfitters.com for more information, and they'll see you on the 11th.
Hello.
Angela, we have to break up.
But why?
Because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Aloe Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit aloefiber.com to switch today.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Gentlemen, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Don't be that guy running to the store for flowers and a card on your way home. Hey, Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. We have great Valentine's gifts in store now. And if you spend $99, we'll throw in a free bouquet of a dozen roses. Give her what she really wants this year and let us do the rest. Sartor Heyman Jewelers, your hometown jeweler since 1905 in Lincoln and Grand Island. Online at sartorheyman.com.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just the professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier furry friends.
Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, welcome back in to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. Still going through our book over here, Think and Grow Rich.
Yep, Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, we've been going on this. We got, I believe, what, 2 more segments?
One more after this.
One more after this. So we're kind of closing down a little bit, but the introduction, it just piques my interest, and I especially with the depth of how important the story is, and how I would say the information and the years Napoleon Hill invested into it. Like, why do you pick these 2 stories? And it's like, well, okay, you have so many elements in here, and I talked about it. But I think it's also like the element of like, it's not easy and it's not pretty, setting the reader up like, hey, look, like, I'm picking these ones. I'm not going to pick, maybe one where it had a little less adversity. And, and I think the ones with these is that, like, there was the first story, you see like a direct purpose, like a direct demand, right? Like, it's like a direct, I know where I'm going. The second one, you don't really see that. It's kind of like, the dude thinks, Darby thinks he's just gonna, go and get the pot of gold, at the end of the rainbow, dig it up and live happily ever after. But it's almost like, okay, now if I was to have Darby in front of me and I ask him, okay, which one would you have rather wanted, the pot of gold or the value and the information and the understanding and the experience from the failure? And I guarantee he would say, I wanted the experience. Why? Because I wouldn't have learned the lesson. Think about it. If he would have got the pot of gold, maybe character-wise, he wouldn't have been able to obtain it. Meaning not obtain it, but keep it, right? And I think that's how you set out for riches at the end of the day, is to keep it, not to, get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, that's, it's pretty self-explanatory there. I said the introduction kind of teases the fact that the way to accumulate riches is not hard work or putting in more hours or getting more degrees, right? There's none of that in there. But it does say, riches begin with a state of mind, definite purpose, and a burning desire. Napoleon Hill says the object of this book is to help all who seek it to learn the changing of their minds from failure consciousness to success consciousness. And so I think failure consciousness, if I could kind of put it into my own definition, I would say being conscious of failure. You can kind of define it with the words within there. Is that like, I'm literally conscious of failing. I'm conscious of coming up short. I'm conscious of the lack of ability. Thinking in failure, that's thinking in lack. And I don't think us as human beings or individuals, that's an improper way to think. It's actually a disrespectful way to think to yourself, because you understand a little bit more of what a human being is, where we're from, who we really are. You get to the true essence of who we are. There's no lack there. That lack is separation. That's an illusion. There's no lack there. It's actually all wholeness, and it's actually all bliss at the core essence of who we are. It's actually like there's a unity. There's a real unity within us. And I think the idea, this book, it drives it home from a completely different angle, is that you can do it. You can do it. Now the way he says it is that he says this in the introduction. I'm gonna paraphrase it, but basically that there's a the information in this book will reveal something in you. And so it's not the idea that the book is revealing something externally. It's something internally. And so I think the process of reading, the process of why you read. I mean, that's the question I had to ask myself. Why am I reading? Like, why do you read the book? Are you trying to learn information about something else or learn more information about you? And I think when the more you learn more information about you, you realize who you really are. I think that's the age-old question that is the inscription above the temple in the temple of Apollo in Delphi, Greece. Know thyself. Okay, so what does that mean to know thyself? Okay, to understand, to be aware, to go from unconscious to conscious, to understand. Okay, how do I think? How do I act? How do I feel? Examine all those. That's a combination of your personality. And there's a theory out there that your personality creates your personal reality. So you examine all those three, you get all those three in line, you create a new destiny. And not only that, I mean, you change your biochemistry by doing that too. I mean, it's proven. It's proven. We've talked about it already. I mean, there's more published papers on that too, but there's a real way that an individual can change everything about them that has got them up to the point, right? So everything that got you up to this point, it doesn't even matter. But we're in this loophole, right? I know Neo from the Matrix. We're in this matrix, right? Where we really believe, and I've been bamboozled and fooled, that there's something out there that's controlling this, right? There's an external circumstance that's controlling this. But what happens when, like, the individual or we become greater than our past, greater than our environment, greater than our thoughts, greater than the way we feel, greater than time, greater than all these things? And then I think, like, man, we got it now. And so I think that's the point. Maybe that's the point I'm trying to get through. Maybe Napoleon wasn't trying to say that. Maybe I'm just trying to say that. But he closes the chapter with this. He says, we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our soul, because we have the power to control our thoughts. And I think it's interesting. So, like, as simple as a sentence that is, as simple as a sentence, it says, the end of it says, because we have the power to control our thoughts. Yeah, we do have the power. I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. Now, the process in which you gain that control, nobody describes that.
No.
They don't describe how hard that is. They don't describe the conditioning that's been built up in the individual. And then all of a sudden, you've been thinking thoughts of lack, thoughts of separation, thoughts of anxiety, depression, all these different things. And all of a sudden you flip it on one day and say, I'm done. I'm gonna think a certain way. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I mean, your body now becomes, has become, the unconscious mind. You think certain things, you move a certain way, your brain is wired a certain way. And all of a sudden you take conscious control. The fight back, that is, you have to walk through what they call the valley of the shadow of darkness. Like, you're gonna have to walk through that. And what do we talk about? It's always darkest before it gets bright. It's darkest before dawn. And then it's like, during that time, you got to fight your Goliath. That's your Goliath, is you. Oh my gosh, that's different. Now that's different. If you realize the enemy is you, and I'm not talking about you, but there's, if you believe in duality, and there's opposites and all that good things. We're magnetic beings. We have a negative charge and a positive charge at each ends, and the unity of the charges is our heart. And so if you believe that, you can kind of also believe, if that pattern is in nature, right, probably could exist in the mental formation of the individual. Like, maybe that there's a lower self and a higher self. Maybe that's a theory. Maybe, okay, maybe the lower self is trying to pull you down, the higher self is trying to pull you up. Okay, maybe your job is to get attached to the higher self and understand that individual and say, okay, this is really who I am, identify with him, and acknowledge and say, okay, I'm going to become conscious of what this lower individual is trying to do, right? Or lower self, lower ego, whatever you want to call it. But it's pretty beautiful. Chapter 1 or chapter 2, after introduction, and talk about desire, and this gets deep. The desire portion of this chapter, I think there's 13 principles of this book, and I think the the desire part is one of my favorite, because I think this is like Napoleon Hill says, this is the starting point of all achievement. Without a desire, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. I don't think anyone has accomplished anything in this world without a desire. I don't think you just aimlessly do something. I think there has to be a desire, and I think those desires were actually put inside of us for a reason. That it's all actually, if you go, to religion, or you go to spirituality, or you go to whatever it is, there's always, it references in every story, but there's always a soul or an essence or a spirit or something that pushes you in certain direction, and it brings forth certain things, and it's also seeking expression with and through you. And the way that it can't, then the way that you limit that expression is by your own limitations. And so this book is all about getting past limitations, getting past belief systems. And so Napoleon Hill talks about, you can't have these desires without the ability to do the thing, right? So like, it's like, he says it perfectly. I'll just go to him. He says, if you have the desire, you'll have the ability to do it. If you don't have the desire, you won't have the ability. The ability comes with the desire, and the desire comes with the ability. So they always go hand in hand. But the illusion is that out there, or what we see with the eyes, don't match the desire. So the illusion is, I'm so far from that. I'm so far from what I see in my head, that desire. Like, how could I even get there? And then we just forget it. So what is that? The limitation. It's like a I see this desire thing as like a water hose. We used to drink out of like a water hose back in the day.
Oh yeah.
So like, you have the water hose, and especially like the long ones, they have a bunch of kinks in them, right? The little whatever, and the water can't flow out properly. And so, when you have a kink in there, the water's just dripping out, and you're like, why is it, I turn the faucet on, like, why is it not coming out? Well, if you iron it out, and you straighten it out, the water's going to flow out beautifully.
Yeah.
Right. So what is the kink? What does that represent? Well, that's the limitation that we put. And what's the water? That's the desire. That's the essence. That's the thing that's trying to flow through us. But we put a limitation on it. We put all these things on it, and they never come to pass. And there's just a little drip of water coming out in our lives. And we wonder why. Why is this thing why is life so hard? Or why is we doing this? And then we realize, like, oh wow, I'm the problem. Now, the moment you take responsibility for your life, this is just a theory. This is maybe truth, maybe a theory. Call me crazy. But the moment you realize, okay, I'm responsible, because the person the finger of blame that you point, that's where your power goes to. So if I blame the external circumstance, if I blame I didn't make it to NFL because the coach, or because the injury, or because the whatever, guess what the formula and the pattern throughout my life would be? Well, I don't make it, or I fail because of external circumstance.
Yeah.
Now, what if I go, okay, I didn't make it because there was something I didn't do. And not in a, and you have to get past this, is not in a harmful and unforgiving and a shameful way, but in a loving and in a understanding and a curious way. Like, okay, I messed up. Where did I go wrong? Okay, well, now in my life producing forward, guess what? I'm taking accountability. I'm taking responsibility. And guess what? I'm not a victim of my past. Now I'm a creator of my future. So my whole life changes now. And now I can get attached to desires and allow those things to come to pass. Right. And so Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, philosopher from early 1800s, or late 1800s, early 1900s. If you read he has a essay, Self-Reliance, fantastic. He says, do the thing and you shall find that you have the power. The power has been within you this whole time. It's that you just have to step out and do the thing. And so, in this desire chapter, Napoleon Hill brings back up the Barnes and Edison story. And, he discusses that Barnes' desire was not hope. It was not a wish. It was a keen and pulsating desire, which transcended everything else. And it was definite. And Hill actually speculates that when the desire first appeared, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, in his mind, it might have been only a wish. Like it might have been, maybe a fantasy that was standing in, when he was standing in front of Edison. It was obviously much more than a wish. So it kind of alludes to that there was some type of process that Barnes went through, which is pretty awesome. But we'll finish this next chapter on the next segment.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and throw it to our final break here and get back into this next and final segment here on 93.7 The Ticket.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Ready to spruce up your space? No matter what project is on your list, you can check it off at the Nebraska Builders Home and Garden Show, February 7th through the 9th at the Sandhills Global Event Center. With over 200 businesses under one roof, you'll find the latest in home innovations and experts to handle your dream projects. Admission is just $10, and children 12 and under are free. For more information, visit the Home and Garden Show online at hbal.org.
Salt Mine City is not only Lincoln's newest brewery, but they're also now serving food. Enjoy a full menu of great items daily for lunch and dinner, like their peanut butter and jelly burger with bacon and cheddar cheese, or a Reuben sandwich served on Blackstone rye bread. Don't forget their beef or chicken nachos with guacamole, sour cream, jalapenos, and more. Wash it down with one of their 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager. Salt Mine City, now open 11 a.m. every day but Mondays at 8th and R.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today. Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
At Farm Bureau Financial Services, we strive to provide you with the right coverages for all your insurance needs by taking the time to meet with you and review what coverages best fit your needs. So whether you're in the market for home, auto, farm, business, life, or a combination of any of these coverages, we can help with making sure you, your family, or your business have the right coverage based on your individual needs. If you would like to review your insurance needs, please contact Ben Spurt with Farm Bureau Financial Services at 402-217-9945 or through email at ben.spurt@fbfs.com.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
Load up on meat and more this winter at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This week's special through February 11th is $2 off burgers, limit of 2, 20% off sauces and spices, and 5 pounds of 75/25 ground beef for $20, limit of 2 while supplies last. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Wrestling fans, it's time to elevate your game, just like Stevens & Smith Construction does for your concrete needs. As your full-service concrete contractor, we deliver solid results every time. From singles to doubles, fighting for inside position to scrambling reversals, we know how to pin down quality and slam expectations. Stevens & Smith Construction, a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. where Husker wrestlers bring you all the action. Don't stall. Stevens & Smith Construction is here to help you build a concrete foundation for the win. Check us out at www.stevensandsmith.com because stalling is a penalty and winning is the only option.
Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
Back in for one more segment here of What's Brewing on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll close it out with a little bit more of Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Think and Grow Rich. We're on what, chapter 2 or chapter 2, principle 1 or step 1 towards riches. Napoleon Hill describes desire as the thing or the starting point of all achievement, and that you wouldn't have the desire if you didn't have the ability. And he speculates, I guess you can say that he speculates that desire and ability go hand in hand. And we kind of talked about the example of a water hose, and that the reason why these desires can't be expressed with and through us, resulting into the physical equivalent, is that we have limitations and we have, these things that set us back, and maybe they're unconscious beliefs that we've been programmed since childhood. There's unconscious beliefs that we've picked up through dogma or religion or whatever it is, through teachers, through social media, through movies, through music. I mean, we've been programmed in many different ways, and if you understand the brain a little bit more, you kind of learn like, wow, we can get influenced very heavily by external conditions or circumstances. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. It's like the health commercials that you see. It's the for the pill or for the whatever, and then it's like they take. But the thing is, they know exactly what they're doing. They take you through an emotional roller coaster. What I say, the one thing was for subconscious influence, emotional involvement.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, how can I get someone to emotionally involve in something? Okay, attach an emotion to the commercial. Okay, someone goes, someone gets sick, a loved one, a kiss, a hug, happy music, sad music, whatever it is. So we're consistently getting programmed, and it's our job, I think, to, like Jim Rohn says, stand guard at the gate of our mind, understand what information we're consuming, and especially, before we wake up and before we go to sleep, those are the prime times to program your subconscious. Your brain goes from beta. We're in like low beta right now. Maybe low, like little bit higher than low, because we're on air. There's a little bit of pressure. There's a little bit of, there's a little bit, right? So we're probably, a little bit heightened circumstance, of course. And then you go mid-range beta, that's, double the amount of low, that's like if I told you, if I just walked out the show and said, hey, here's Think and Grow Rich, go ahead and go ahead and finish the review. Like like your brain would perk up a little bit. Like, shoot, like, oh, hold on. Then high beta is like, there's an external threat. Like, hold on, like the, sympathetic nervous system is activated, and, pupils dilated, there's a cougar outside, right? There's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and all your energy is put in externally. And then you go into this thing called alpha, right? Alpha is your creative state. Right brain is, really influencing this, brain wave state. And then all of a sudden theta is like, right before you go to bed, the windows of your subconscious get open, and, you're able to program stuff in. And this book talks about it is the principle of auto-suggestion, and it's suggestion to self by self. Well, what happens if you're getting suggestions from other people? Right? And you're getting suggestions from other people, and you don't even understand that's programming you. And man, you gotta be aware of that, or you don't really have to. I think that would just be a suggestion of mine, I guess. Back on desire, the question, how can I say? He said Hill speculates that when the desire first appeared in the mind, it might have been only a wish in Barnes. But when he was standing in front of Mr. Edison, it was much more than a wish. And then it also talks about that Barnes was working for Edison for 5 years before he got his chance. And to everyone, Barnes probably appeared to be just another low-level employee, just 9 to 5, working the clock, punching the ticket, right? And earning the bi-weekly paycheck, right? And just being one another, Edison's employees. But he knew something within himself that he was going to work with them. And so in his own mind, he was a partner of Edison's every minute he was on the job. So, I mean, obviously, you can kind of conclude that Barnes was a human being, and he probably had some bad days too. But at the end of the day, there had to be some type of consistent effort within him to reject the external reality. And so Barnes knew exactly where he was going with a clear intention, a definite purpose, and a burning desire. The reality that Barnes chose in his mind was the only reality that he would accept. He wouldn't accept anything else. I mean, he probably had every chance in the world to turn the other way. I mean, setback after setback. I mean, stagnation after stagnation, plateaus after plateaus. Because think about it. I mean, you talk about exponential growth, or like people call it quantum leaps.
Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about that, I mean, you have to start off plateauing. Like, you have to start off here.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know if anyone's investors. I love seeing my money compound over time and build and put money into, RRAs and, investments and, ETFs, whatever. But it's like your reoccurring investments, you keep putting in, $20, $100, $250 of, every bi-weekly or every week or whatever it is. And all of a sudden it compounds and it grows. And then it's like, all of a sudden it hits that point where it just takes a jump. Right. And all of a sudden, instead of 250 turning into 500, it's 10,000 turning into some bigger, then it's 100,000 turning, then it's 850, then it's 1.5, then all of a sudden you did this every day for 20 years, and now look up, you're set for so like, I think when you look at growth, it might not happen overnight, but first of all, we talk about the process. The process is really the true is why we do it. I mean, the process is amazing. The process is everything. But there's a story I want to read that Hill talks about, and I think it's a story that we talked about in football, and we'll probably wrap it up with this one. And I think it's necessary, and I think it's pretty influential. So it says, a long while ago, a great warrior faced a situation which made it necessary for him to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe whose men outnumbered his own. He loaded his soldiers into the boat, sailed to the enemy's country, unloaded his soldiers and equipment, then gave the orders to burn the ships that had carried them. Addressing his men before the first battle, he said, "You see the boats going up in smoke? That means that we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or perish." And they won.
And they won,
man. So I appreciate everyone listening to the show. I thought there's so much more. We might have to do this for a whole month to get through this book. I'd love to hear the comments on like what other people are reading. Maybe a book that we could do on here. Please give me something that has some substance to it. Of course, I can't read a novel. I can't read those. But I will say this, is that if you got something from this, that's my whole goal. I mean, I guess I kind of already understand the information. It helps me more the more I teach it, but or explain it. But I do this to help people, and I hope it helps someone out there.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up from here. Don't go anywhere. Chopping it up with Chubb coming up next here on 93.7 The Ticket.